Right then guys, this is the AKM summer rebuild transfer video 2.0. I have been sat on this for a couple of weeks now, and I was actually going to put it out at the beginning of the week, but with all the transfer dealings we've seen going on over the past few days, I've thought, let's see if anything else happens so it's not like old news when I talk about it. But yeah, you guys seemed to like this last time, so we're going to do it again. We're going to be looking at centre-backs, defensive midfielders, number 10s with the whole vert situation, and we're going to be looking at number 9s as well, as we expect one, if not two of our number 9s right now to leave this summer. And we're going to do a little recap as well to start off with, just so we know where we're all sat with the current situation at Liverpool with the players. So if you do end up liking this video, guys, make sure you're hitting the like button, subscribing, and leave a comment down below. I want to know whether you agree or disagree with the players that I've mentioned, and also any other player suggestions you have for these positions we are talking about. And if there's another position actually as well that you think I've missed off, like should I have looked at wingers or anything like that, let me know down below. So let's recap the situation, shall we? So the contracts are all done. We know that Virgil and Salah are both staying. Trent is on his way, probably to Real Madrid most likely. And we've also had Harvey Elliott talking about whatever happens regarding his situation at the club, which to me makes me feel like he's on his way, guys, basically, Harvey Elliott. And with the whole Kirkes stuff, we're probably going to see either Robbo or most likely Shimikas be moved on from the club as well. So let's start at the back, shall we? So we'll goalkeeper situation, we know what's happening there. Mamadashvili is coming in. Kelleher wanted to leave last year, so and I was and ahhing, would we move on from Alisson this summer? But I think he stays for at least one more year, in my opinion, does Alisson, with Mamadashvili being the number 2 as the backup. So centre backs, I think that is something we need to be looking at right now, and I am predominantly looking at the left side of the centre-back pairing. So I've got 3 players here for you now that I want to talk about. The first one is the one that's been doing the rounds for a fair bit of time now. He's been at a Liverpool game as a guest for Ryan Gravenberch, and it is Joel Hatto. Now, he currently plies his trade over at Ajax, and he can also fill in at left back if needed. His current market value is 30 million euros, and his contract doesn't expire till 2028. His stats so far this year are 50 games, 3 goals and 6 assists, and 4,185 minutes of football played this year. So he's played a fair bit of football, guys. There's the Dutch connection there. I do think that, him coming in with him being at a game would make a lot of sense. He's 19 years of age. He wouldn't necessarily have to be registered for the Champions League or the Premier League, so it's not something that would affect the homegrown quota so much, do you know what I mean, with that one. So that could be something we look at. The only thing that's a little bit holding me up on this one is I do think that this would be an expensive player to go out there and sign. I reckon you're looking at probably north of 60 million to bring this lad in. I think just his age profile, the amount of minutes that he plays, the expectation of where he's going to get to in future, he is going to be an expensive signing, because Ajax are under no obligation to sell him and he doesn't have any sort of release clause or anything like that. The next player I want to look at is Piero Hincapié, another player from Bayer Leverkusen. He was linked with Liverpool again last year, quite heavily to be fair as well, as someone Liverpool could potentially bring in. He's 23 years of age, so he would have to be registered, so that would counter against the homegrown quota that Liverpool seem to be struggling with right now. His contract expires in 2029. He can play across the entire, centre-back pairing and also at left-back, and he can also play left midfield. He is outfitted by Adidas, and his last contract extension was only in December of last year. And his current market value is at 50 million euros, so pounds as well, give or take. In the Bundesliga and all competitions, he played 45 games with 3 goals, 2 assists, and 3,787 minutes. So not as many minutes as, Joel Hatto, who we've just spoke about, but this guy looks like he's a bit of a warrior, to be fair. I get the feeling that he's got a bit of a Mascherano in him. Do you know what I mean? One of those players that just puts his head in everywhere, and not afraid of a tackle or anything like that. And to be fair, coming in at centre-back, I think you probably need a little bit of that. I'm not so sure he's that good on the ball though, but we'll have a look at that when we get to the stats breakdown after this initial part. And then the last centre-back I want to talk about is Gonçalo Inácio, who, again, heavily linked with Liverpool last summer, especially when we were linked with, before the summer as well, when we were linked with Ruben Amorim to come in to be the new Liverpool manager. This player was someone that was heavily linked with Liverpool. He only recently signed a new contract back then as well, regarding that whole situation, which pushed up his release clause. I think his release clause at the time was like 25 million, and then it got bumped all the way up to like 50, 60 million or something like that. So again, quite an expensive signing. He is 23 years of age, so same age as Nkapé. Contract expires in 2027, and he can again play either position for the centre-back. He can also play left-back, and he can also play defensive midfielder, so very, very versatile. He played 41 games last season with 6 goals, 3 assists, and 3,223 minutes. So he has played probably the least amount of football between these three players. All 3 players as well are from 3 different leagues. You've got the Eredivisie, you've got the Bundesliga, and you've got the Portuguese league as well. Now, what does this look like when we break it down to stats? So this is the stat sheet that I have for the 3 players. You've got Inácio in the blue, Nkapé in the red, and Hato in the green. Now, again, this is over the last 365 days, so it does encompass the entirety of last season. So, I think this is probably one of those graphs where when you first look at it, you're like, there's a few different similarities. But I do think as well that they are all rather close in some of the key bits that you would probably need for a centre-back in the Arne Slot system. So if when you look here on the right hand side, progressive carries, they are all 3 of them quite high. You've got Inácio really high at the top because he's basically the one that starts to play for Sporting, followed by Nkapé and João Hato. Progressive carries, did I say passes or carries then? That might have been the wrong way around. Carries here, you've got again Nkapé at the top with Inácio just behind him. Hato is all the way down here, so he doesn't carry the ball as much, but he does pass it a fair bit. Could just be down to playing style is this. Touches, you've got Inácio again. He is the actual, one of the creative linchpins and the guy who starts to play for Sporting. He's higher. And then you've got Nkapé followed by Hato. And then also some of the key stuff for defending, you've got Nkapé high for blocks, followed by Hato, and then Inácio further down. Tackles and interceptions, Nkapé is the highest here, followed by Inácio, and then Hato. And then aerial duels won. Hato is the number 1. 100% is a percentage of dribblers tackles, so Hato is really good at tackling people that try to take him on. And then for the goals and everything, that doesn't really matter so much, but it's quite good to see that all 3 of them are quite high in this regard as well. So, if I was to pick just based on stats alone, not taking into consideration like transfer fee or anything like that, the one for me out of these 3 players that I think would probably fit the Arne Slot system and be the most encompassing player to come in would be Nkapé, based alone just on this. If I wanted someone to come in who could potentially become the new Virgil van Dijk, I would probably be looking at either Inácio or Hato, just because Inácio can start the play, receive the ball from the goalkeeper, whereas Hato is still quite young, so he could probably increase on all of these metrics, even further over the course of his career. So I would probably be really happy with any one of these 3 in all fairness if we were to get one. But as I say, Nkapé based on stats alone would be the one I'd go for. But if I'm looking for someone to be the long-term replacement of Virgil van Dijk, I probably would be more inclined to go with Hato out of the 3 of these players, guys. So that's the centre-backs done and dusted for me. Moving on. With Liverpool signing Jeremy Frimpong and potentially signing Milos Kerkez, you have got 2 very attacking full-backs, that are going to be bombing down either side of the pitch, try and get the ball into the back of the net, or even assisting, whichever. So that to me suggests that Liverpool need to bring in a defensive midfielder who is in the mould of a Ryan Gravenberch, but also has that ability to tackle like Fabinho used to do. Now, I've got 3 players lined up here who I think could potentially be one of these, that could hit the mark for Liverpool. Now, I'm going to start off with Hugo Larsson. Now, this guy plays for Eintracht Frankfurt over in the Bundesliga. His contract doesn't expire till 2029. He can play defensive midfielder and also as a central midfielder, so you've got that little bit of versatility there. He's only 20 years of age also. Current market value is at 40 million euros. And then stats for the season, he's played 47 games in all competitions, 6 goals, 2 assists, and he's played 3,442 minutes of football. Let's have a look at his age. Look, I've just seen his agency name there, and that does actually kind of ring of a bit of a bell, does that one? I wonder if there's anyone here that could potentially have a link with Liverpool or anything like that. It seems to be taking a while to load. I'll tell you what bother. It's taking too long to load. So that's Larsson. Again, we'll go through all the stats and everything once we've done with everybody else. The next player on my list I have here is Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart, again over in the Bundesliga. He's 24 years of age. He can play defensive midfielder mainly and also as a central midfielder. His contract doesn't expire till 2028, and he has only literally just extended his contract in 2025. Current market value at 38 million euros. He has played 46 games in all comps with 4 goals and 9 assists in 3,867 minutes. What I just want to add about Stiller is he is the guy that Stuttgart have relied upon to replace Endo since he came to Liverpool. So there's that to bear in mind as well with him. Like, he seems to be someone as well that Real Madrid have got pretty high on their list as well. So I would also keep that in mind. Now, a player I have mentioned a fair few times now, probably going back a couple of years, who I think Liverpool should be looking at to sign. And when we were talking about, the defensive midfielders for last year, when we were talking about Zubimendi and Ederson at Atalanta, again, I did another stat show, and Alan Varela was my person who was my player I would have picked to come in, and he was my number 1 rated defensive midfielder out of the ones I'd picked last summer, and he's probably my number 1 so far this year. Little spoiler for you there. 44 games this season for Porto with 3 assists, no goals, 3,229 minutes. Contract doesn't expire till 2028. His current market value is at 35 million euros. He is 23 years of age, and he plays mainly as a defensive midfielder and in the central midfielder positions also. Now, here is the stat sheet I have for the 3 of those. As you can see, Angelo Stella is the blue, you got Alan Varela in the green, and Hugo Larsson is the red. Now, again, this is a player that is going to be highly relied upon, in my opinion, to be the anchor of the midfield. Someone who, as Slot has started to do over the past few games, drops back into the middle of the centre-back pairing, so they go wide either side. The wing-backs go bombing down the wings. So this person needs to be comfortable receiving the ball, dictating style of play, but also not afraid of a tackle and throwing the body on the line if need be. So let's have a look what we've got here then. So I'm not so bothered about assists or goals or anything like that over this side, because that's not what I'd think they're going to be asked to do. What I want to see is passes completed, progressive passes, progressive carries, touches, dribblers tackled, and then probably the blocks, interceptions here down as well. That's what I want to see. So passes attempted, you've got number 1, you've got Angelo Stella, followed by Varela and then Hugo Larsson. Pass completed, you've got Alan Varela at the top, and then you've got Stiller and Larsson neck and neck. Progressive passes, you've got Stiller at the top, followed by Varela. Progressive carries, you've got Varela all the way down here with Larsson here, and then you've got Stiller at the top. And then touches, Stiller makes the most, followed by Varela and Larsson. Aerial battles won, you've got Varela there, he's there. Dribblers tackled, you've got Varela at the top. And then for obviously the blocks and interceptions, you've got Larsson at the top with Varela further down, and then Stiller in the middle here. So you might ask yourself, why is Varela the number one target for you, Adam? When stats and everything like that, he's only the top in a few of them. And just for me, guys, I like the style of play that he has. I think he would be an absolute menace in this defensive midfield for us. I think he'd be very much like a Mascherano. That's the second time I've mentioned him in this video. But I do think at the same time he has that ability to be able to play the ball. Not so much like an Alonso or anything like that, but I think he would be a really good player to come in for Liverpool, and just being able to hold that defensive midfield line. Free up Szoboszlai to go forward, McAllister to go forward, Gravenberch even, maybe you can push him further forward if you wanted to play him alongside him. You'd free up the wingers and the wing backs to go further forward and everything like that. I really do think that he would be a great signing. But again, looking at that, any one of those three could come in. Probably Larsson would be the preferred one out of the three of them, and then I'd have Stiller and then Varela for them. But I don't know, I just really like Varela. I really do like Alan Varela, guys. I mean, if anyone else has anything to say about that, let me know down below, but I just really think he's a really good player. Now, this is the bit where I think is a bit of a weird one. So, as we've seen, Liverpool have been linked with a raft of number 10s now. Mainly Florian Wirtz is doing the rounds in social media and journalists. We've seen Shirky linked with us. We've seen Xavi Simons linked with us. So they're the three players I'm looking at here for this number 10 position. One thing as well I just want to add is all three of these players could potentially, especially Simons and Wirtz, they could. I'm not so sure on Shirky, but Simons and Wirtz could also play a false 9 role. So it depends on what Arne Slot is wanting from his squad basically next season. So anyway, let's have a look at the both players, shall we? So all three players. So first up, we've got Shirky, 21 years of age. He can use both feet. He predominantly plays out on the right wing, but he can also play as a 10 or out there on the left. His contract expires at the end of next season, and he's currently sponsored by Adidas. His current market value is at 35. I think he has already announced as well to, is it Lyon? Yeah, Lyon, that he wants to leave this summer. So, in all competitions this year, he's played 44 games, 12 goals, 20 assists in 3,099 minutes. We've also then got Xavi Simons, who is 22 years of age. Again, he can play on the right or on the left, but he predominantly plays as a number 10. Contract expires in 2027. His market value is 70 million euros. And in all competitions, he's played 33 games, 11 goals, 8 assists in 2,763 minutes in a pretty bad RB Leipzig's team, to be fair. Like, they've not qualified for Europe at all this season. So you see the likes of Simons, Sesko, Openda, Geretuda, all linked with moves away due to them missing out on European football. And then last but not least, the guy, the man of the hour, Florian Wirtz. Again, he can play predominantly as a 10, but he can also go right or left. He is predominantly right-footed. Contract expires at the end of 2027 campaign. His current market value is 140 million euros. Sponsored by Adidas. Competition-wise, all the stats: 45 games, 16 goals, 15 assists in 3,392 minutes. And here is the stat sheet for those three. So you've got Shirky in the blue, Wirtz in the red, and Simons in the green. Now, again, this is something that this is going to be hard to judge because we don't know what's expected of this role. We don't know if they're going to play as Szoboszlai does now, but predominantly more further forward, or if they're going to come in as a false 9 like a Bobby Firmino. So, progressive passes, pushing the ball forward. You've got Shirky at the top, followed by Wirtz and then Simons. Carries, again, Shirky runs with the ball more. Then you've got Wirtz and then Simons is down here. Successful take-on, so, you know, taking the ball around someone. Wirtz, Shirky, Simons. Touches, you've got Wirtz, Shirky, Simons. You see the pattern here. Progressive passes received, so the player being in space further forward and the ball's come to them forward. You've got Wirtz miles ahead, and then you've got Shirky and Simmons neck and neck here. My mind went blank then. Dribble is tackled, so it looks like Simmons is more an aggressive tackler and is needed to do so. He wins a lot more aerial battles as well, tackles and interceptions. Wirtz is quite high up in the blocks here, and then you've got Simmons again, clearance and non-penalty goals with Wirtz. So that must mean that a lot of Shirky's goals have been penalties then, really. If he's so high, non-penalty goals, you've got Wirtz and... Oh, no, sorry, they're all three of them are pretty much the same. I didn't see the lines there. Not too clear. Assists, you've got Shirky at the top, followed by Wirtz. Expected assists, you've got Shirky, Wirtz, Simmons, and so on and so forth. Shot creation, actions. So overall, it depends what you want from them. If you want the person to be able to receive the ball, create more around them, you know, with ball progression from deeper, not necessarily the assist, but the ball before the assist, you're probably looking at someone like a Wirtz. If you want someone to be the ball for the assist, or someone that can bang the ball in the back of the net a lot more often, you're probably looking at a Shirky. If you want someone who's a bit of an all-rounder, can do a bit of everything, include getting a bit dirty with like tackles, interceptions and stuff, you've got someone like Simmons. So there's these three players here that can all do the same role, but it all depends on what with the want to do. Now, with all the news surrounding Wirtz, you would think that they're looking for somebody who is a Wirtz type player. So you're looking at the successful take-ons, touches and progressive passes received. So you're looking for somebody who is good on the ball, receives the ball a lot. He's like the magician, the Coutinho, the creative linchpin of the team. He passes it around a fair bit as well. Quite similar to what McAllister does, I guess, a little bit, but just a bit further forward. I mean, I'll be straight with you all right now. Like, I don't think that Wirtz is the player, not for the money whatsoever. I've always kind of had it in my head that, maybe they're going to go for Wirtz, but it's a bit of a smokescreen for, like, Simmons instead. But looking at stats, like, Shirky is a better player to me on here than Simmons. But then again, playing devil's advocate, Shirky's playing in League 1, whereas Simmons is playing in the Bundesliga for a bad team. So is this just a one-off bad season for Simmons stats-wise? And has he got more potential? Could Shirky do it in the Premier League? I don't know, guys. I've got a little bit of a funny feeling that Shirky could turn into like a Dimitri Payet. Do you know what I mean? He could be pretty good. So if I was to take Wirtz off the board completely, because I don't think that's a move that's going to happen, I probably would go for Shirky just because of the price as well, and everybody else you need to get in for the team as well. Like, left back, centre back, and a striker. You could probably get Shirky for like 20 odd million. You know what I mean? Coming into like this is the last summer they're going to get any money from or anything like that. So I'll probably go with Shirky out of these three guys if I'm being real with myself. Obviously, Wirtz is probably the one we all want, but it's not realistic, I don't think, guys, is that? So, yeah. Moving on then, we're going to go to the striker situation now. So, again, I've picked three strikers who I think Liverpool probably should look at. Probably are looking at least two of them. I know they've looked at one of them in the past. So, these players are the first one, Hugo Ekitike. So again, we'll do what we've been doing before. Contract expires in 2029. He's a centre forward. He's 22 years of age. Current market value at 55 million euros. 48 games this year, 22 goals, 12 assists in 3,645 minutes. Next up, we've got Benjamin Sesko. Now, I know a lot of people think that this is just like a Slovenian Nunes. Do you know what I mean? But I kind of do like him, to be fair. He's 21 years of age. His contract expires in 2029. Again, he plays for Leipzig, which has had a bit of a bad season, haven't they? His current market value is at £65 million, though I think I've seen some stuff saying like he's got a release clause like 100 million euros, but they do business at like 80 or something daft like that. 45 games, 21 goals, 6 assists in 3,258 minutes. And then the guy who I think would be absolutely the most ideal striker Liverpool could sign for the Arne Slot system. He can do the false nine, he could do the one up front by himself. And I think he's probably the most unrealistic out of the three that I've actually spoken about, is Julian Alvarez. Now, 25 years of age, contract expires in 2030. His current market value is 90 million euros. He is outfitted by Adidas. He can predominantly play as a number 9, but he can also play on either wing also if need be. Stats this year: 53 games, 29 goals, 6 assists in 3,615 minutes. And just to really round that off with this little stat sheet for you, the blue is Hugo Ekitike, the red is Benjamin Sesko, and the green is Julian Alvarez. Now, straight up, as you can see, Julian Alvarez is pretty high on nearly every single one of these, and that's why I think he's probably the most ideal striker to come in for the Arne Slot. I just think he's also the most unrealistic, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I do think someone of a Ekitike or a Sesko type mould is the type of striker you're looking at, guys. I don't think that Liverpool are going to go out and sign a ready-made number 9, especially after getting Frimpong Kerkez. And if they do, 100% if they go out and sign Wirtz, they are not signing a Julian Alvarez or someone like that for like another 80-90 million pounds. It just won't happen. So again, let's have a look at this. Like, you know, we're looking at number 9, so we're looking at assists, we're looking at non-penalty goals, and we're looking at all this side down here. So shot creating actions, you've got Alvarez and Ekitike at the top. Non-penalty goals and assists, you've got Ekitike at the top, followed by Alvarez and then Sesko. Assists, you've got Ekitike, Sesko, Alvarez. And then non-penalty goals, you've got Alvarez out up front by himself, followed by Ekitike and then Sesko here. Touches of the ball, you've got Alvarez here again, quite high compared to the others, but again, is that the system he's being asked to play in. Successful take-ons, you've got Ekitike here. Progressive carries, Ekitike here, so Ekitike likes to run with the ball a fair bit by the looks of this. Progressive passes, so Alvarez, you know, again, as I say, playing that false 9 role, drops deep, he's the one that passes the ball forward to the wingers for them to be able to score a little bit more, and that's why you see like his passes attempted and his passes completion is all quite high here. So anyway, guys, I'll leave that there for you. Let me know down below which ones of these players you think you would rather Liverpool went out and signed. And yeah, hopefully I might get another one out for you before the end of the season, before the end of the summer window, guys. I'll see you then.